Fun fact number 168. I went out with some friends on Friday night. A lot of stuff happened then, but they text and say, "Hey, we live on the same street. Are you going to karaoke? Can we come with you? Can we get a ride with you?" And I was like, "Hey, that's fine." Something else happened, which I'm going to talk about next time. But while we're at the bar, it was a friend of mine and her boyfriend, and the boyfriend said, "Do you guys smoke pot or do you do edibles or anything like that?" And I think I've talked a little bit about this before. And I told him, I said, "Well, I have a hard enough time staying grounded. I'm not, I've always, I'm a true Aquarian with one foot in land and one foot in water. And the land is this reality and the water is the spiritual. And so I've always been split between the two. But mostly I've been in the water and very spiritual and very not grounded all the time. I would say that's very true about me. I'm not grounded all the time. So there was a time in my life, a long time ago, it's very, very young, um, that I did smoke pot. I also smoked cigarettes and crackatoas, but I smoked pot for a little while, a few years. Off and on. I never bought any. I um was kind of spoiled that way, I think. Um and I remember going over to my sister's boyfriend's house, who was wealthy and lived up in the hills and had a hot tub way back when hot tubs weren't that big of a thing. And he would come out with this cigar box and he just have different types of pot, Sensibium, Colombian, different ones. Thai, can't remember them all, but he'd have different ones. And like he had hashish sometimes and stuff like that, but and I'd pick my favorite. I think I like the Sensibian the best, but I don't remember. I know the first time I smoked pot was with the varsity basketball team of high school, the girls. I was doing the 30-second clock for my sister's team, and all the girls went back to somebody's college boyfriend's place that lived kind of out of town, in the town that we were doing the preseason basketball game in. And they had pot from Hawaii. And that was, you know, if you've ever been around pot, sometimes it smells like a skunk. Sometimes you're like, somebody had to smoke a skunk or they smoking pot. There's that whole joke with the cartoon where the skunk is smoking pot. So double trouble, right? But this stuff smelled nice. It smelled good. It smelled like almost appetizing. So anyhow, so I told my friend that I need to stay grounded. But the other thing is that pot will give you the munchies. And I've struggled off and on with my weight most of my life, I would say, since puberty. Since puberty, everybody thought I was malnourished, and then I hit puberty at the age of 9, and everybody thought I was already a woman, which was another not very good thing. But yeah, the I told him, yeah, munchies and spacey just not good things for me to. I can get spacey without I can get high without having pot. And we've seen this, right? Okay. Been there, done that. So just not something that I do anymore. But when I did, I remember going over, I'll just say Doug's house. And he had a water bed too. And he had his own, like downstairs in the house, he had a water bed in his own bathroom. It was kind of like a private area downstairs. It's like a hallway, a closet, his bedroom, and a bathroom. And we'd hang out down there. And he was very scientific minded and tried to figure out how to get the best high. He had a bong that was very large with many components, called the Glass Forest. He had the All-American bong. I mean, this is something that went across the room. It had tubes and plastic. The All-American one was red, white, and blue, and it's plastic. The Glass Forest, I believe, was kind of green and white and stuff, and like a light green and like the Emerald Castle or something. It went across the room, and then the bowl was way at the end, so you really had to breathe in to get. He was experimenting. And they had the shotguns and they had the carburetors and they had all different types of ways that you could smoke. He experimented whether hot water or cold water would give you a better high with your bong. But he had one that was like this wine bottle bong, and it was like an Italian one. It had like the cork with the empty space in here, so you could put your pot in there. And you would, at the top where the cork would go for the wine bottle, um, that's where you put the bowl. And then right here, what was that? Something just, did you see the door open behind me? It's either my cat or a ghost. Gosh, I hope it's a handsome ghost. Anyway, so there was the part where you pour the wine out. Here's the handle, the pour, the top, the little space in the wine bottle. It's that kind of wine bottle. I don't know if you've ever seen one. And you would, where you pour the wine out, that's where you would suck to get the bowl. And that I would just sit in a corner with my wine bottle on, with my favorite pot, and we'd listen to Pink Floyd and Tangerine Dream and Moody Blues and did I say Pink Floyd? I think so. Tangerine Dream, Moody Blues, some other artists on occasion, and Tubular Bells, maybe talk philosophy, which I do anyway. So I don't think I really need to get high. I would get more inside myself and very, very observant, and they'd all point and laugh at me. I know, but the we had other things that would happen as well, like we'd go down to a restaurant called Zinn's that was down the hill from where Doug lived. I don't think it exists anymore. And I would say French fries and a hot fudge sundae. Perfect munchie cure. It was. It was the perfect munchie cure. We'd go down there and get something to eat, and everybody had their own thing that they would get. And then, but my brother at the time worked pretty far away, not too far away, but a ways away at a McDonald's. And he was manager of the McDonald's. And so after he got off work, any food that was left over, instead of throwing it out, he'd bring it to us. And we'd get cheeseburgers and I mean, McDonald's wasn't as fancy as it is now, but we'd get cheeseburgers and I don't even think they had chicken sandwiches and Big Macs and stuff. No, it was just like cheeseburgers and regular burgers and but people would fight over the fish fillet. Remember that? I remember people, I want the fish fillet. So it was it was a very safe environment for me to do that in. One time I went to a party and um it's the cat. One time I went to a party and hello baby. Um it was at Doug's and but there was a lot of people there I didn't know. I had my wine bottle bong. I was happy. My sister was upstairs making chocolate chip cookies because that was her thing. And there was a guy with a gold chain and a big lapel and chest hair coming out. And he was like, hey. And I'm like 15, 16, maybe 17. No, I don't think I was 17. I was probably 15 or 16. And he was like, let me refill your bowl. I was looking for Doug to get my bowl refilled. That's how posh I was back then. And he wanted to refill my bowl with the stuff he had. But he was also the guy that was there cutting cocaine. And I don't like sticking stuff up my nose. I have to now to clear my sinuses, but never wanted to take anything up my nose. And I wasn't into the cocaine thing. That wasn't someplace I was going to go. And he offered me free, free stuff. And then I couldn't find Doug to refill my bowl, and I was already stoned, so I said, "Yeah, go ahead. I'll take some of your free pot that you were fun to and it seemed funny to me, and then I had a weird reaction to it, and I just got really tired, like more tired than usual. I didn't get the munchies. I just wanted to lay down somewhere and pass out. So I was smart. I went upstairs. I went and got my sister. I don't remember much of it, but she does. And she said, that guy's an ass. And I pretty much figured he was an ass. But, and she goes, you can't trust him. And I pretty much knew that. Um, but I said, I think he did something to the pot. And back then, what they used to call it was they laced it. Now, he could have laced it with a lot of different things. And I was trying to tell my daughter about this. And I said, well, lacing the pot was like, it was leaves. So you could put a liquid jug on there. You could powder it and rub the powder in. That's why it was, because it's a leaf, it was like you would lace the leaf with something else, wet or powder, and it would be a different drug that you would react differently to. A lot of guys would do it to try to get you involved in higher drugs or addicted to something else or maybe date rape you or just rape you. So my sister actually took me downstairs to Doug's room and locked the door so nobody could get in and put me on the waterbed. And I guess I passed out and missed the rest of the party. And that was the beginning of the end of my smoking pot too, because I missed the party. I missed all the fun things that people told me about later because somebody had laced it with something. I recovered fine. Nothing happened to me. I mean, it didn't affect me in any other way except for that time, that moment. But it made me realize that this was not the world I wanted to be a part of. That's my cat grabbing my leg. And that I wanted to be present for the fun of the party. I didn't get any of the chocolate chip cookies my sister made. I didn't get to sit in the hot tub like I wanted to. I didn't get to meet I didn't get to meet hardly anybody that was there and socialize. I just passed out, and I think that wasn't that wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. And so I started laying back. I started smoking cigarettes more and laid off smoking pot. And the pot wasn't any good for me. All it did was make me more quiet. It made me quieter, like I disappeared into myself. And that probably wasn't the best thing for me. And then I would have the hot fudge sundae and the french fries. I had a lot of adventures with pot, but I never really did anything heavier than that. I don't really drink a lot of alcohol right now. My favorite alcohol is lavender lemonade kombucha. Everyone's like drinking kombucha, and I'm like, yeah, it's such a like everybody's like into the latest fad things. Let's have chai this and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I like what I like, and if I don't like it, I'm not gonna drink it. And I had tried some kombucha and it was okay, but I was like not a real big like iced tea person or there's very few teas. I like ginseng and peppermint tea, but that's about it. But somebody had me try the lavender lemonade kombucha, and that is so good. Like I've tried other kombuchas, but the lavender lemonade, I'm telling you, is the best. So, um, and I used to be really into the rosé wine, but I'm not even drinking that much wine anymore. I just if I can get every once in a while I'll do a cider. I tried a blackberry cider. It was okay. Not as good as the lavender lemonade. But I really don't even like taking Aleve or whatever it is for pain. I don't like taking medication, period, but some of it I'm told I need to take because of my bad cholesterol's a little high or my immune system is not fighting back good enough. So probiotic, prebiotic, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So I try to find a good balance of natural medications or natural things to help my health. But uh, as far as I can see, the doctors haven't really done that much for me to help any of the pain issues or anything like that. Chiropractic was good for a while. Massage is better. If you'd like to give me a massage, no, I'm just kidding. So this, I know there was something that I told my daughter about pot smoking, but it's, the more I've talked to her about it, the more she thinks it's really not for her because we can go to other planes of reality without drugs. So I don't know if taking drugs would be the best thing for us to do. But I had my time with that and I don't need it anymore. I consider I think I've said before, I consider myself a smoker, but I don't smoke because obviously I have breathing issues. It's probably not the best thing for me to do. But there are times I would really like a cigarette at times. I always thought I'd be one of those old gray-haired women with a pipe and a rocking chair, just going, "Where's my sarsaparilla?" Something like that. I want a mint julep with a pipe, little tobacco, but you don't really inhale with it. We're not supposed to inhale with a pipe, but then you just get gum cancer or whatever. So no, that's I burn incense, I burn sage. I don't need to smoke anything really. Um, but that's kind of my experience with pot. I've had other ones. I remember going to a religious music camp and everybody there was smoking pot, and I thought that was really weird. But this one, I had to smoke it because this one person didn't believe I ever had smoked it, so I had to smoke some. And then I got really paranoid because I'm at a religious music camp, and they were making a lot of noise. There was a lot of strangeness in my life. Yes, done many things. Did I tell you I've done many things? Um, so yeah, it's just not drugs and pot and even too much alcohol. I want to feel it. I want to experience. Why would I try to disconnect from the beauty of the world? Now, some people do it to try to enhance the beauty. I had an ex-boyfriend that used to flip out and become somebody else like this and yell. And I would tell him just to take a puff off a joint to calm down because whoever he was, it wasn't him that was talking to me. It was somebody who had talked to him that way. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, that was my stepfather. Sorry," after he had a hit or two. So I can see it for medicinal purposes. And I've never seen anybody overdose on marijuana. I don't. You might, your eyes may close for a long time. You may fall asleep. I've never seen anybody overdose on marijuana. I did try edibles recently, not a lot of them. It was supposed to help me with the pain, and it didn't. All it did was give me the munchies. It triggered that in me, but it didn't trigger pain relief. So I took I tried two edibles, and they were like gummies, and they did not help me. And they just kind of triggered the munchies. So I'm like, nope, those are gone. But edibles have come a really long way because I remember my brother dumping the the whole bag into a brownie mix, twigs and seeds and all, and they were crunchy brownies. Um, when my sister had cancer, I had a friend who her husband grew marijuana in his backyard for medicinal purposes and personal use, and she would make marijuana butter mostly for cancer patients, so they could cook with the butter, and and have feel like eating after chemo. And I told my sister, I said, "Hey, if you need some butter, I have a friend who makes it and I can get you some." But she had plenty of people supplying her with stuff. She still died of cancer, but they were getting her the cancer soup that doesn't have anything in it. Uh, and it's supposed to help with the cancer, but she still didn't make it. Um, so there are medicinal uses for marijuana. But I think like with everything, that sometimes something can be very good, could be good for other people or not that harmful, or even food. I mean, really, and there's allergies and everything else, but sometimes it's just not for you. Even like in at love interests, somebody may be a really, really nice person, and somebody may be in love with them, and this nice person may be in love with you, but you know that they're not for you. They're a lovely person, they're a great person, but they're not for you. I think most people aren't for me because, yeah, yeah, because I can go to other planes of reality without drugs. So, probably I don't think I'm a difficult person. I think I'm, well, I am what I am, right? So there was, I think, something more I wanted to say about, I was telling my daughter some stories about the old days, but yeah, it just after a while it just wasn't for me anymore. And we don't allow smoking in the house because of my breathing issues, and my daughter doesn't smoke. She never has. She doesn't really drink either. And this is not something that I put on her. I mean, we were like, me and my ex-husband were like, she'd see us with a beer, and we're like, smell it. Do you want to taste it? Sometimes she would, sometimes she wouldn't. Sometimes she'd just smell it and go, why would you drink that? So, and like I said, when she turned 21, her first drink was a strawberry daiquiri. And she likes peppermint schnapps. And she'll do like the sour apple Smirnoff Ice, but it's not something like she has to have. We have to have around. She doesn't really, and I don't have to have alcohol around either. So it's like not a priority in our lives, and it's not something we have to have around. So now, that the bottled water, it's like water that bubbles. It's just like water. And they put like, and there's 0 calorie everything, nothing's in it really. And then they put lime, like a lime flavor in it. That, if I don't have that in the house, or Sprite, maybe a little bit of Sprite. We don't do a lot of soda, but like the 0 calorie Sprite or something. I don't have something like that in the house, then I'm in trouble because we must have that for her. Me, I just do some Perrier and a squeeze of lemon and coffee. I'm trying to get off coffee. But besides that, this was supposed to be 168. Smoking pot? Not really. Once, a long time ago in another life. And even then, it was kind of like, it was interesting, but not necessary for me. But if you find it useful in your life, I have nothing against that. It's just not for me. But I have a lot of stories, and that's just one of many smoking pot stories. And how about this?